How you doing? And welcome to Doc's Place. I'm glad you tuned in today because we've got a lot to talk about. But before we begin, I think I owe it to you, and I know I definitely owe it to me, and things I owe to me, I always pay because that's one of the pimping principles. You got to pay yourself first. So first of all, I want to let you know a little bit about me, who I am, and who you're dealing with, because that's what you need to know when you're dealing with people who claim to bring you information. My name is Doc, and I'm an ex-convict, I'm an ex-addict, I'm an ex-husband. I got more exes than the gathering of members of the Nation of Islam on Savior's Day. But I'm not saying anything against the Nation of Islam because I know those brothers. I know a lot of those brothers, and they do fine work. As a matter of fact, in the African American community, historically and traditionally, the members of the Nation of Islam has always been looked at with a certain amount of respect, not only by the black community, but by the white community. They never looked at the members of the Nation of Islam as they did other so-called Negroes or black folk. So I just want to go on record because I don't want to get any kind of comments from members of the Nation of Islam. Those are my brothers and I love them dearly. I tell you a little bit about myself because you need to know, and this is an information program. I was born in Washington, D.C. That's my hometown. Chocolate City, what we used to call it back in the day. I don't know if they still call it Chocolate City, but it was Chocolate City back in the day.
Oh, what's happening,
And I
CC?
grew up in the
They
late
still call it the
60s,
White
mid
House, but
60s.
that's a
I was born
temporary
in the
condition
50s.
too.
I'm
Can you
old.
dig it, CC?
Like I say, they call me Doc. Some people call me Granddaddy B. But I was born in the 60s. And I remember those days we had an area in town called the 14th Street Strip. And 14th Street Strip was our red light district. It was a memorable place to be. A lot of things going on there. I remember Ben's Chili Bowl. All of us would go to Ben's Chili Bowl because that was a place Mr. Ben would always feed us. I mean, if you were going to school, if you were in elementary school or high school, it didn't matter. If you came in there and you were hungry, Mr. Ben would feed you. And he passed away a few years ago, but Ben's Chili Bowl is now an institution in D.C., especially since our President Barack Obama has chosen to put it on the map by going there to get one of Ben's world famous chili burgers. If you never had one, then you need to get on down there to 14th and U, Ben's Chili Bowl, and get one of those. So there's a plug for you for Ben's. But back in the day, growing up in D.C., on that 14th Street Strip, there's a lot of things going on. A lot of things going on. I mean, we had a lot of hustlers back then. We had a lot of pimps and prostitutes. We had numbers running. Everybody out there involved in making their money. See, black folks didn't have the opportunity that they have right now back then. Back then, you had to get it, as we called it, from the muscle. And as a shorty, when I was watching these hustlers, these pimps and prostitutes and players, I noticed that they had a lot of style. I mean, these guys that, listen, they were wearing gabardine slacks, they were wearing silk suits. I mean, they had what we called back then Dax slacks. They wore Johnson and Murphy shoes, Florsheim shoes. And for those of us that wasn't hustling, well, we got our shoes from a store known as Flag Brothers, and that's when we had the platform shoes. That came a little bit later than the 60s. But we had one store there, Cavaliers Men's Shops, right down on 14th and F. And if you was a hustler, you had to go to Cavaliers, because Cavaliers was a place to go to get what you needed to be out there in the game. And there's a lot of memorable people out there in the game. Guys that I learned a lot from, women I learned a lot from. Guys like Cadillac Smith and White Top, Roach Brown, Black Top. I mean, we had a lot of people. Fifi. That was the first female I ever met that was a pimp. And I learned a lot from them. Every year they had the Players Ball going on. And, all the players was doing their macking. For those of you that don't know what a mac is, it comes from the French, You know, the French always considered pimps bottom feeders. And the one fish that they equated with a bottom feeder was a mackerel. So they used to call all the pimps mackerel. They would call them the mackerel. And therefore, when it came to the U.S., the mackerel became the Mac. So those of you that go back in the day, I'm sure you can find it on Yahoo or Google or whatever. Go on and check out Max Julian after Mac. You'll find a little bit more about the game. But back in DC, the game was truly the game. Now understand something. When people play games, people genuinely play games to be happy. To be happy. That's the purpose of a game. To relax and be happy. Now, I know back in the day, of course, people had to make money. And again, as I said earlier, there wasn't a lot of opportunities to make money. But out there on the 14th Street Strip, all the pimps and players and prostitutes and hustlers and numbers runners, they was out there making money, but it was the game for them. And there was a lot of things going on with the game, because one thing that they had with the game was that they had a lot of respect. They had a lot of honor with the game. You know, it wasn't a whole lot of shucking and jiving. If you was out there, you was out there to make ends meet, and you did what you needed to do in order to make those ends meet, but you did it without cutting somebody's throat or walking over their body in order to accomplish your ends, because that's what the game was. That's what we call being true to the game back then. People wasn't going around shooting each other back then. Not a whole lot of people was carrying guns. I guess one or two guys did. But the most that was going to happen was a guy would have a single-edged blue steel razor that he pull out on you. And usually it wasn't because of anything involved with the game. It would just be a matter of some disrespect. But today, when I look out there, what I see is the script done flipped. The game done flipped. There's no more honor in the game. It's not even a game anymore. It's really a thing that has become a thing that's just a deadly thing. I mean, you got these young jitterbugs running around that will shoot at the drop of a hat. They come out with their face all balled up and a gun in their hand, and they come out to begin with mad at the world and ready to kill, and they don't care anything about the game. The fact of the matter is the game was something to be happy about, because you had an opportunity to make some money, to make some ends meet. And so all I'm saying is, and I'm not condoning young people going out there and selling drugs. I'm not condoning that. So I don't want to get a lot of feedback saying Doc condoning young people going out and selling drugs, because that's not true. But the fact of the matter, the truth of the issue is that young people are going to do what they do. And all I'm saying to the young people is listen, if you can't be happy in doing what you're doing, then get out the game. If you ain't happy, get out the game. Be true to the game. Because as I said, the game was something that made people happy. And killing doesn't make anyone happy. It doesn't make a single soul happy. I can remember being down on the strip, and I had a mentor by the name of Ralph Waldo Petey Green. Petey Green was a ex-convict, ex-addict, ex-felon, and he went on to become a two-time Emmy winner. 2 times. First black man in Washington, D.C. to earn an Emmy, and Petey got 2 of them. Matter of fact, Petey was invited to the White House, and he stole a spoon. But that's who Petey Green was. And my tribute to Petey is just about the fact that Petey was able to inspire me and others. I always loved Petey. Always made sure to catch his show. Petey had his tagline. He said, I would tell it to the hot, tell it to the cold, tell it to the young, tell it to the old. Don't want no laughing, don't want no crying, and most of all, no signifying. And I'm not trying to signify now. I'm just trying to bring a message to the young people at this point in time about getting back to being true to the game. If you're going to be in the game, be there with some honor. Be there with some honor. And in the meantime, I also like to give a shout out to some of the fewest real people that I've seen, like Cat Williams. Cat Williams is true to the game. He tells it like it is. He says what needs to be said, and he's unapologetic for it. Also like to thank Dave Chappelle for being who he is. Dave Chappelle is another young black man who's true to the game, says what he says says it in a humorous way, but he connects. He connects in a way that all of us can understand. So I just want to say to all of you out there, when you stop and think about it, if you're out there on the grind, if you're out there hustling, if you're young people, stop, think about it. Just think about it for a minute and ask yourself, are you happy? Because if you ain't happy, you can't be true to the game. And if you can't be true to the game, it's time for you to leave. And just remember this, you party, I just want to say this to you, because I don't know, but I've been told, keep your eye on the donut and not on the hole. This is Doc, and I'm just bringing it to you from Doc Place. Until next time.
And
Peace
tonight
out.
I'm gonna tell it like it is, because I'm gonna give you Petey Green's interpretation of black history. When Jack Johnson got a note from the Ku Klux Klan saying, get up tonight and we're gonna hang you tomorrow. And he went on to knock the sucker out in the 63rd round. That's the black history. When the Japs came out of Pearl Harbor in 1941, December the 7th, they come out the sun, hit over top of Pearl Harbor, land coming around, dropping bombs. Here's a black man down in the galley, which is known as the kitchen, who had never manned a gun before, had never shot no gun, because that time black people in the Navy didn't do nothing but wash floors and cook and wash pots and pans. He throwed off his apron, ran up on the deck, and shot down 22 Japanese Zeros. His name was Dory Miller. That's black history. History is made at your own dinner table. History is made in your backyard, in your school. I'm sweating now, because I'm fired up.